Hey everybody, Ott DeFoe here, Major League Fishing professional angler on the Bass Pro Tour, and summertime is a time of year I love river fishing. I want to go through 4 baits, 4 setups that I use, especially when I'm fishing for smallmouth in a river system in the summertime. These are 4 that I'm always going to have on the deck of the boat. So we're going to start with, honestly, the most exciting one out of the bunch, and that's a topwater, man. A topwater bait is a great way to catch a lot of fish, and honestly one of the ways where if I'm trying to catch a big one, this is probably the bait that I'm going to be throwing. That particular bait is a Rapala claptail. This one just came out this year at ICAST, but this is a a plopper style bait. If you throw it out, you reel it back in. It's a steady retrieve kind of bait. The unique thing with this one is that blade back there on the back and the fact that it has that metal tail. So think of a clacking buzz bait. That's what you've got, but with a plopper style bait. So you've got those treble hooks, so a smallmouth comes up and just, trashes that thing. You've got a way to be able to catch him. For me, a lot of the rods that I use in the river, and you'll see that as we go through everything else, a lot of that stuff is a little bit shorter because you're in probably a smaller boat. You're making a lot of short casts. You're making a lot of, very targeted casts. So for me on this one, that's a 6/8 medium heavy action rod, and usually like a 7.5 to 1 speed reel. Then on a plopper style bait like that claptail, I'm gonna be throwing it on braided line. So 50-pound braided line, that's what I'm gonna throw it on. Next up is gonna be a bladed jig, and this is a small bladed jig. That's a big thing, I think a big misconception a lot of folks have about a bladed jig is that it's a largemouth bait or that it's a grass bait, that it doesn't really work in a lot of other situations. Let me tell you, they're missing out because this thing on smallmouth, especially in a river system, it is absolutely deadly. A lot of those smallmouth, they're feeding heavily on crawfish this time of the year. And a green pumpkin orange or a green pumpkin bladed jig with a little twin tail kind of trailer on the back of it, that looks a lot like those crawfish down there scooting along the bottom, in those rocks and stuff. So that is what a bladed jig imitates extremely well when you're fishing in a shallow river system like this. Again, a little bit shorter rod than what I would typically fish this on, but a 6/8 medium action rod. But again, that same 7.5 to 1 speed reel. Then I typically throw this on 17-pound fluorocarbon. You can get by with 14, if you're trying to get the bait a little bit deeper or something. Next up, kind of switching gears, a little bit more finesse-y type stuff. And stuff that, in my mind, I'm thinking I'm probably gonna throw these when I'm just wanting to get bit. But at the end of the day, dude, you can catch a big one on either one of these next 2 setups as well. For me, the first one is a little 3-inch swim bait. That's a little Bass Pro 3-inch speed shad. I've got it on a VMC redline jig head, usually an 1/8 or a 3/16 ounce, depending on the depth, depending on the amount of current that I've got out there. And then a natural shad top pattern. That one is a Smallmouth Magic. Obviously the name's telling you that it's gonna be pretty good. But that is a great bait to just throw out there. You reel it back. You don't have to think a lot about it. Just throw it out there and start swimming that dude back, and that's how they're gonna bite it. And any of this stuff, honestly, summertime, it's a pretty fast retrieve with most all of these type of baits. Fishing it on a spinning rod setup, that's a 7/1 medium action rod. I've got 10-pound braid, and then typically a 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader tied onto there for that particular setup. That's what I use on pretty much all my spinning rods in the river, this next one included. Final one, this one is the cleanup. This is the one that's gonna get you bit on pretty much any day of the year out on the river, but that's technically it's a shaky head, okay? I want to call it a weedless Ned rig because of the way, the type of bait that I've got on it, being a 4-inch sticko worm, and I'll bite it down to where I'm fishing it down to about 3 or 3.5 inches. But I basically call it a weedless Ned rig because it is just that straight tail worm. So I'll typically throw this thing, I'll throw it anywhere. That's the great thing about rigging up weedless on that VMC rugby jig head. Again, an 1/8 or 3/16 on it as well. But rigging up weedless, dude, I can throw it anywhere. It's not like your traditional Ned rig with an open hook that you're really worried about, fishing in and around cover and getting hung up a lot. So that is my setup for a cleanup. Again, same exact setup as that swim bait, 7/1 medium action rod, 10-pound braid, 10-pound leader. And that's the setup for all the, spinning rod kind of fishing for me out there in the river in the summertime. So man, summertime, it's hot, but go out there and go jump in the river. Take a kayak, go wading, take a jet boat. Any way you can get on the river in the summertime, you're gonna get out there and have a lot of fun, catch a lot of bass. See you out on the river.